This was a crazy thread I read about Brex's Billboard campaign. Brex is a startup that offers business credit cards and cash management accounts to other startups, and their marketing is brilliant. I'm going to talk about their champagne campaigns on another episode, but not in this one. They were one of the first buyers of Cybertruck and wrapped it in their colors and their logo and drove it around. And what they did with billboards was so smart. And this is a thread from Twitter from X, and it's a great informative thread. This is from Sam Blond. He is a legendary technology and startup marketer, and he was one of the first employees at Brex. This is what he said. Brex ran the most successful billboard campaign of any tech startup in history. The impact was massive for inbound demand generation, nearly 100% brand awareness in our target market, improved outbound conversion, and more. This is what we did, picks included, and how you can do it too. I joined Brex in May of 2018. We hadn't launched yet, no PR, no website. Everyone's LinkedIn said stealth. No one knew who we were. We were planning for a launch in June and wanted to make as big a splash as possible. I had done billboards both successfully and unsuccessfully at previous startups and thought Brex was a perfect candidate for a big campaign for a few reasons. Number one, our target market, tech startups, was geographically concentrated in the Bay Area. Number two, our product offering was simple to message. A corporate card for startups. Number three, the timing was right. We were launching our product out of beta and wanted to acquire market share as quickly as possible. Brex's CFO and I decided billboards could be big for us. I knew a rep at Clear Channel from a previous startup where I had worked with him. We reached out with the mandate to go big and get as much bang for our buck as possible. Billboards on 101 are expensive because of the high number of impressions. Most of our inventory was in San Francisco at bus shelters and city boards. Impressions are lower, which means they're less expensive, but impressions are longer due to foot traffic and stopped cars versus a highway. I thought that was really insightful. Billboards on the highway are overpriced, basically, because the impressions are too fast. And the less expensive ones last longer. That was cool. So he continues. We were able to negotiate an amazing deal to purchase the majority of downtown San Francisco inventory for $50,000 a month for 3 months for a total of $150,000. We posted every board the exact same day we launched out of beta alongside a big public relations push. Our first creative was simple and literal messaging. The first corporate card for startups. No one knew who we were, so we wanted to establish a brand before getting more creative. Once everyone in San Francisco knew of Brex, in large part due to the billboards, we started to get more creative with our messaging. We included rewards, current events like Brexit, and the scenery around the billboard. And so there's this one billboard where a tree is partially covering the billboard, and then behind the tree on the billboard are all of these dollar bills, kind of making it look like the money is growing on the tree. And that actually the billboard says, rewards better than a money tree. There's another billboard, 101 million in rewards back to startups in 3 months. And then another one that says, don't charge it, Brexit. The first corporate card for startups, not the political disaster. That's great. Every time I told someone where I worked, potential customers, investors, candidates, they would all say, I see your billboards everywhere. Our outbound response rate in San Francisco were as high as I've ever seen. We grew the business, market share, revenue, valuation about as fast as any B2B tech startup ever had. We went from an unknown company to a household name in our target market overnight. Billboards were a big part of this success. If you want to do a billboard campaign, here are the steps I recommend based on my experience. Decide if billboards are right for you. Billboards are expensive. You want a high concentration of your target market in the area you're posting in. If your target market is scattered geographically, there are likely better channels for customer acquisition besides billboards. If you're going to do a campaign, go big or go home. Repetition is critical. Buy every billboard you can in a designated area. And then there's an image of 4 billboards just literally in a row. They're street side billboards, are on the sidewalk. And I would say they're each separated by 10 or 15 feet. And they all have the same exact Brex billboard on them. $5,000 in AWS credits for all new Brex customers. And it's just the same thing. 4 in a row, 15 feet intervals. Just like he said, repetition is critical. By every billboard you can in a designated area. The biggest mistake I've ever made is not having high contrast between the letters and the background. With low contrast, people can't read the billboard, especially in daylight. I recommend white on black or close to it. I thought that was also very useful for lots of things. Contrast in design is so important. And then this is the last one of the thread. Your first campaign should have messaging that is short, less than 8 words, and explains your product offering. Don't get creative until you have the confidence the audience knows who you are and what you do. And now the comments are very interesting. Someone said, genuinely curious, how do you measure ROI? That's question 1. Sam's response was, it's hard. Response and conversion rates in the geographical area you're running the campaign compared to the average is one way, but it's flawed in this case. San Francisco would be higher for Brex with or without billboards. Our measurement was largely subjective, word of mouth, for the San Francisco campaign. So basically, they measured ROI anecdotally. The second question was, could the massive growth be correlated that you just came out of stealth mode? Sam said it was many things, but billboards were a big part of it. And the third question was, do you think you could have had the same impact or greater on digital/social/podcasts with better tracking? Sam said, we did podcasts, PR, digital, all the traditional marketing channels, and billboards are what we became known for. It was an expensive bet, and we couldn't be precise with ROI, but everyone at the company was certain it was worth it. I'm certain too. It's very clear. If you're going around and saying you work at this company and everyone is saying they know your billboards, your top of mind awareness is going to be huge. Your response rates are going to be huge. People are going to be primed all the time. So then they see your ads in other places. To me, it's just, if you understand marketing, it's a no-brainer, complete no-brainer. And they didn't really do any testing. So someone asked, did you do any kind of validation for your billboard messaging before launching to ensure it produced the kind of emotional reaction you wanted? And Sam said, we tested a bit internally and with investors, nothing more formal than that. This is the last one I'll read. So someone asked, you said you coordinated your PR on the same day. Any thoughts/frameworks on how you applied the go big idea to PR on launch out of beta? Just using an agency or any creative PR tactics you can share? Thank you. And Sam said, we announced our fundraise the same day we launched out of beta. This made the story more interesting and received broader coverage. We used a spreadsheet to track every investor, advisor, employee, friend of the firm, and whether or not they had posted on social. That's something that I often do too. I track posts, but I just love huge coordinated announcements like this. These things really work. I've done them myself. Huge campaigns like this work, and I thought this was so brilliant, so I wanted to share it. This is episode, 259 of my daily growth hacking and growth marketing show. I don't know if I'm going to call this growth hacking or growth marketing. It's a bit of both. They just came out of stealth, so I would say it's a bit of both, but it's brilliant nonetheless. And I think we can all think about what sorts of huge channels we can go after like this, channels that we can pair with each other to make all of our messaging and marketing efforts work in tandem. And that's what Brex did, and Brex continues to do it. So I thought this was great. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.